course, Walter Clayton Jr., who, again, has that argument, I would say, to be in that discussion, much like with Con Knippel, to be the best shooter in the class. Now, he is an older prospect, clearly played for Florida, took them all the way in the NCAA tournament. 26 usage player, shot 39% from three, averaged 20 points a game, over 3 threes a game. Is this shooting real enough for it to make him as an older prospect valuable to NBA teams?
100%. 100%. I mean, we're not talking about a guy that blossomed late or anything. I think he shot and made 800 or 900 3-pointers. So to me, the shooting is absolutely proven. He's a guy who he can do it on ball. He can do it off ball. He's got a lot of positional versatility in terms of being able to do it from the point guard position in the pick and roll actions, as a shooting guard in the open floor, contested. Absolutely a guy that is in those conversations as one of the best shooters in this class. And really, in the last few classes that I personally have evaluated, because last year wasn't a great shooting class. So it's been some time since we've seen a guy like Walter Clayton Jr. that can fill it up like this.
Yeah, that's a fair way of looking at it. He's such an interesting player because, again, we're talking older. We're talking a little bit on the smaller side as well, at about 6'3". What do you make of him in terms of his passing and his pick and roll skills, basically?
Yeah, I think he's a plus passer. I don't know that he's full-time point guard ready. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because, as I touched on, he's got this positional versatility. If you want to roll him out as the 6th man, I think that works. If you want to roll him out as a 2 guard next to a point guard, I think that works. If you want to start him at the 2 guard and let him shoot 8 threes a game, I think that works. So the passing is good enough to help him moonlight as all these different things, but I don't think it's probably to the level that NBA franchises want to roll him out as your full-time one.
So, again, we're talking about an undersized guy here with elite shooting who's been playing in big moments, who runs as a point guard. There is value in this sort of a player clearly in the NBA, but I guess the question's always going to be with someone of this size is okay, how bad is he going to get cooked defensively, and is the trade-off worth it? So how do you view that?
I think it's worth it. Like you said, I think there's value in this archetype. In terms of guys like this, he's probably a little more athletic than the typical one. He's probably a little bit better defensively than the typical guys of this mold. He's got that it factor. Obviously led Florida to the championship as their best player, did it all in the final 2 games. I think he's got it, whatever it is. I lean a little more positively towards him than I do others of his caliber.
So I'll bring a name up who was a similar older prospect, a little bit smaller, shot the ball well on a really, really strong college team a few seasons ago. And I'm talking about Marcus Sasser, who has had a couple of moments in the NBA, but overall I think he's probably a little bit too small at times. Defensively he struggles and the shot hasn't really come around. So how do you differentiate those sort of players? Or is that comparison between Sasser and Clayton off base?
I don't think it is, and it's tough because I was high on Sasser personally for a lot of these same reasons. I mean, he was a guy who saw enormous success with Houston, defensively projected to be probably even better than Walter Clayton Jr. was, but again, just looks a little bit too small, a little bit out of his depth with the Pistons. So I don't know. It's a tough differentiation. I think sometimes you just got to swing for the fences with these guys, maybe take that into consideration and move on.
I'll throw a name out just so we end on a positive in terms of comparisons. Another guy that he compares favorably with through his numbers in college is Peyton Pritchard, who we saw struggle early in his career, but obviously has flourished in the system that he's in Boston, and putting up gigantic numbers, and was a key part on the Celtics team this season. So that's it. You can go the Sasser route where it's hasn't really developed, or you could turn into a Peyton Pritchard type, or that sort of a player who was an older player with elite shooting numbers. You worry about the defensive stuff, but it's worked out pretty well for Peyton Pritchard at this point. So there are always multiple angles that you can look at this stuff. The last guy I want to talk